Welcome to Hack the Narrative, where we break myths, tell truths, and hack the stories behind the headlines. In this episode of Hack the Narrative, we explore an incredible journey into cybersecurity. One that started from traditional path, from working in admin, finance, and kitchens. Our guest built a career with no degree, no roadmap, and no shortcuts. Through great curiosity and relentless focus, she broke into the blue team, where she now tracks threat actors and builds real-world detection logic. This is Control Alt Rebuild. Hi Kaya, welcome to the podcast.
Hi Cameron, thank you so much for having me on Hack the Narrative. That really does capture the unconventional path I've taken. Kitchen shifts to being a SOC analyst to now being a threat response engineer at Cloudflare is a bit of a career pivot. But yeah, I'm looking forward to discussing how I made that transition. I do believe that this industry needs diverse perspectives and approaches from traditional and non-traditional backgrounds.
Yeah, completely agree with that. I know a bit of the background of your story and how it happened, but I would like to know, like, what was life actually the week before you packed up and moved 300 miles? Like, what inspired you to make that move?
Well, it was like a complete whirlwind. One week I was just doing normal life, and the next I was suddenly house hunting with zero time to process any of it. It was a school summer holiday, so I didn't get to say goodbye to any of my friends. And there was like this weird mix of being excited to have a chance to have a fresh life, um, just surrounded by boxes in my room, but also genuinely like wondering if I had just screwed everything up.
Yeah, so I think you did that as well, and then you got dropped out of school or something. I think you did dropped out by yourself, right? So, like, was dropping out a difficult decision emotionally, or did it feel like a freedom?
Honestly, 17-year-old me was bold. Like, I look back now and think, how did I even decide that was a good idea, like at that age? But I'm glad she did it because I continue to owe her for that. So yeah, it definitely felt like freedom, a new city, my own place, even though I was completely broke and could barely afford anything beyond bills and food. Um, Still, there was like this sense that, yeah, like this is where I'm meant to be.
Yeah. So I think people also play a really important role when you were moving out and you dropped out of school. So there should be a lot of people saying maybe good or bad. So what did people around you say, like, when you started over? Were there any doubters or supporters?
Um, yeah, like looking back, I'm surprised that no one stopped me. Like, why was there no one stopping this 17-year-old girl doing? But in fairness, I had a lot of support from family and friends, and I still do from the ones who've been there since day one.
So I think you dropped out of school and it has been few years, right? So did you ever consider going back to school, or was it always like you're going to build your own way?
Well, once I left, I never looked back. There were moments where I felt like I was lagging because my friends were going to uni and I was just in this job that I didn't really feel like was a career.
Hmm.
Um, but honestly, I've always known school wasn't the best fit for me, and that's never really changed.
Yeah, that's what I thought about me, but I had to go through schools in college and university. So yeah, pretty good. I think life is different for everybody, and I think it all depends like how we proceed forward and make our ways through. So I think after that you got into cybersecurity. So you have been doing a lot of things from admin stuff to the finance stuff, and you have been working in kitchens as well. So to get into cybersecurity is always difficult, and people always ask this question like how they can get into cybersecurity. So my question to you is gonna be, what were your first resources, and were there any specific creators, courses, or platform that guided you early on?
Um, so yeah, like the first thing I touched was the MITRE attack framework, which is hilarious now because it's not a beginner's guide. I just had no clue what I was doing, just digging into techniques and like so I just look at real world attacks.
Hmm.
Um, so initial access really stood out for me early on. I was interested by the human engineering side of it. And obviously, I continue to be working for email security. So, for actual structured learning, though, I would say EDX really helped and it's really solid. You're learning from schools like Harvard and MIT. You can ask the professors some questions. I also think Microsoft Ignite challenge was really good because I could get a free certificate, like, well, a free exam. It's not a free certificate, but you can get an SC 200. So that's really good for blue team work.
Yeah, true. So I think there is another challenge when you talk about going through all these courses. Like, I think it's staying focused when you progress, right? So when you were doing all these courses, like, how did you manage to stay focused when like progress felt slow or probably invisible because it's the initial start for you?
It didn't feel like I was progressing half the time. I just kept following what interested me. I'd find one concept, get interested, dig deeper, build on it, just let that guide me, really. Sometimes it felt like I was doing nothing,
Hmm.
but my stubbornness did play a really good part, and I just didn't want to quit.
Yeah, that's really good. So I think that also bring in imposter syndrome, if I'm not wrong, right? So did it hard at any point, or how did you push past it?
I mean, does it like ever really go? So seriously though, I've learned to remind myself like I wouldn't have been hired for this role if they didn't think I was good enough, you
Yeah.
know? It is a risk for them too, like they're betting on me.
Mm.
And like after weighing up all these other amazing candidates, they picked me. So that really does help me like snap out of that spiral.
Yeah, definitely. That would have helped you get the first job as well. I'm pretty sure about that. So, if we talk about like when you got into cybersecurity, like what did your internship application look like without a degree? Like, did you lean into your story or skills? Like, what was the main ideology behind that?
I definitely leaned into my story. I mean, like I was straight with them. I didn't have all of the experience. I didn't even grow up with like a Wi-Fi or computers, but I made it clear that whatever they needed, whatever job, whatever task, like I'm gonna be doing it and I will like work through it.
Hmm. Yeah. So when you were in cybersecurity, you secured your first internship. So we all make mistakes, right? And we do learn from all those mistakes. So what mistakes did you make early on in cyber that help you grow the most?
I think thinking I had to master hunting nation state campaigns instead of focusing on the basics first. It taught me really fast that if your fundamentals are weak, like not knowing how to spot a basic misconfig, none of that stuff really matters. So, yeah, that definitely taught me the value of just keeping things simple and building solid foundations.
Yeah. So what are any moments during that first internship, like or job, you thought this is what I want to do forever?
I actually did have that moment early on where I thought, wow, like, oh, I can make an impact here. It wasn't just about like learning anymore. It was like what I was doing mattered and, the clients appreciated it.
Hmm. So what was your first real win on the job? Comparing all the experience and the starting and the thoughts, and you want to do all these things. Like that's something that made you feel legit.
Yeah, so one of my first big wins was handling this like multi-stage attack end to end, tracing everything from initial compromise to exfil. And I built detections that covered both indicators and behavioral rules. We pushed them out to our clients, and those detections consistently caught the similar activity. So yeah, turning a one-off incident into a continuous defensive
Hmm.
capability.
So this looks like a threat hunting to me. So what does good threat hunting look like to you?
Working in a SOC, threat hunting was quite rare. We're buried in incidents most of the time, but when we did get to hunt, though, it had to be hypothesis driven. So for me, what really helped was having a solid reference point, like an article or a report, like new CVs. It just helped pin down those IOCs or behavioral trackers. Um, so yeah, I just make some queries and share my findings with the clients.
Yeah, so working with the clients, but before that, I think you have to work within the own team as well. So, how do you approach building detection logic in collaboration with the team?
Well, we uncovered a file that came through as a phishing email that a user had opened, and on the surface, it looked completely harmless. Um, it was just like an invoice, basically, but it was using Unicode 8238, the right to left override.
Hmm.
So to the user, it looked like exe.pdf, but in reality, it was actually fdp.exe. So it was actually just an executable disguised as a document. So that one definitely changed how we approached detecting file name spoofing and Unicode abuse.
Oh, that's really cool, and that's quite a good way of us getting the file names right. What's unique about Cloudflare approach to email security or threat detection? Because you have been working with Cloudflare for some time now.
Well, one big reason why I was really drawn to work with Cloudflare email security was their focus on phishing that uses QR codes. So, QR codes do typically slip past traditional URL scanning, and most people scan them on their personal phones, which are usually signed into work apps, but don't have the same protection that your work laptop would. So yeah, Area One tackled that like really head on. The scanning and interpreting QR codes in emails before they even reach the inbox. And I swear they were like the first to do it. So that really drew me to them, and that kind of smart, proactive defense was appreciated when I was working as the client on the other end.
Yeah, so you have been doing some research internally, but also you have been doing research for some articles on the Cloudflare website. So I saw some of your articles published on Cloudflare website. So how do you feel it to see your articles being published by the Cloudflare team specifically?
Um, Yeah, I was so proud. It wasn't just about breaking down what was happening in the malicious IOCs. I really wanted to dig into specific techniques the attackers were using and provide detailed examples so people could actually visualize those tactics. My mission basically was to just get people to pause and double check, like, oh, I've seen this in an article before, and maybe I shouldn't interact with it, and have those visual cues to help them assess.
Hmm. So I think in within the Cloudflare there are multiple teams as well, and you also have been working with CloudForce One, if I'm not wrong. So what's the collaboration like with the team?
Yeah, Cloud Force One is packed with incredible threat researchers and analysts and engineers, and I'm really lucky to have them in my corner. When I'm working on these articles, they really bring deep insights and analysis to help sharpen those
Hmm.
articles.
Yeah, that makes sense. So what have you learned from working with threat intel specialists?
One thing I've really taken from working with them is probably like just building deeper context.
Hmm.
Um, and because that really matters. And when I was writing it in the beginning, it wasn't so analysis driven, but they just provide so much context that I've got a lot to write on.
Hmm.
And it's not just about spotting the IOCs, it's about the bigger picture. It's who's behind it, what their goals are, and how it's tied into wider campaigns that we're seeing. So that has really helped me strategically.
Yeah, that makes sense, and that's how we learn as well. Because if you have more people around us with more intelligence and more intelligent people, that definitely drive the growth for us as well. So you have been working with the email security team at Cloudflare. So I think this is a question which I normally ask everywhere as well when we go to different conferences and stuff. So and other people ask us the same question. So do you think email threats are underestimated in the security community?
I personally don't think it's being underestimated. Most of us in security know that phishing accounts for around more than 90% of initial access. And it all comes down to exploiting nature through social engineering.
Hmm.
But what I do think gets overlooked is how much more sophisticated these attacks have become. It's not just dodgy links anymore. It's things like multi-stage payloads and even abusing trusted services to slip through filters. So while people know phishing is a big deal, I think the evolving complexity is where a lot of teams get caught out.
Yeah, I completely agree with that because I think I was having some discussions in the market with some of the researchers as well. And Mr. Docs always come on the top. So he came with these new phishing techniques like browser in the browser tag, or progressive web application. So yeah, I completely agree with you. It's becoming more sophisticated, and it's not that easy to get hold of these emails, and it's always going to happen. But we have to be on the forefront. So if I go back to like the mindset and philosophy and taking advice from you, right? So if you could go back and give advice to yourself during your cafe shifts, what would you say?
Um, I tell myself to trust that process, but that progress is messy, and some days you feel like you're smashing it, and other days you've probably forgotten everything, and that's just totally normal, and all you got to do is just show up.
Yeah, so failures and difficulties. So how has your relationship with failure changed?
Oh, I'm still scared of failure for sure, but I've learned to accept that failure is also normal. And the thing is, when you push through and succeed, it feels so worth it. It feels like the rush that you get from when you're helping someone out.
Hmm.
And suddenly the wind's blowing your hair and the sun's out and the
Yeah.
birds are singing.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. So you said that we have to accept the failure, and I think that's one of the difficult things we as a human being have to do because humans don't really accept failures. But how do you measure your growth now? Like by technical skill, impact, confidence, accepting failures? Like how?
Yeah, like um, definitely a mix of all three. Your technical skills and your impact and your confidence, they all feed into each other. So the key is just to know what you're talking about and actually believe in it.
Hmm. So what is something non-technical that made a huge difference in your cyber journey?
Definitely connections, like 100%. The cyber community is honestly full of some of the friendliest, most helpful people. And I definitely say, like, don't be afraid to reach out, ask questions, and just share knowledge between each other.
Yeah. And how do you believe in making connections? Like, do we have to go for conferences, seminars, or there is an event happening like OAS does that, and ISACA does that, and all of the organizations? So, do you believe in that? Like, when you go there, you meet people, you make connections.
Yeah, honestly, go to anything that you can. Just take a train or
Mm.
flights or whatever you're into, and just pass over your LinkedIn.
Yeah. So, for the people to learn from your story, so what do you wish more people understood about breaking into cyber from unconventional backgrounds?
I would say. hmm, Definitely build a portfolio and get stuck into projects.
Mm.
You might not have the qualifications like me, but if you can show your logic and your curiosity, you're already a really strong candidate. I once built a website that, for my CV actually, that triggered an automatic download of my resume, and it looked like a drive-by download.
Hmm.
For the drama, but actually it was just using the browser's native download attribute. So it was like completely legit, but underused outside of services like mega.nz.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, I also made the site like interactive, so hiring managers could run fake Linux commands like to ls my CV. So I think just like funny little stuff like that, it really does make a difference.
Yeah, that was a pretty smart way of doing that. I like that way. When we talk about having portfolios, right? So I think the best way to create your portfolio is to build some tools and push them onto your GitHub account, and then have it shared with the community, right? So I'm personally I'm a big ambassador of open source, and I personally believe in creating tools to make people's life easy because not everybody can afford all the paid tools and subscriptions. So how do you personally see like if it's a good way of creating your portfolio?
So if it's helped you out with, your projects and, it could be like home automation and
Hmm.
you've just made a YAML file, and that's really helped you out, having the light under the bed turn on when something detects your motion.
Hmm.
Um, just put it on GitHub. Like you could be helping someone who's wanting to do the exact same thing.
Yeah, yeah, completely agree. And I think that's how it should be. Like, if you can come up with something and something work for you, probably just have it posted out on GitHub and shared with the community, because community is always willing to contribute. So if they find something that is good for them, they might do some enhancement in the same tool, right? So learning from your entire story, for the people who will be listening to this podcast and who are working long shifts and grinding after hours, so what's your message to them?
Um, at the end of the day, you just need one company to take that chance on you to see what you see in yourself.
Hmm.
Um, your foot is through the door.
Yeah, completely agree. And I think it also depends on the right people and the good people in the market who are willing to give opportunity to the right people who have the skills and mindset. And you can say they're eager to learn and give back to the community. That's how everything is working in the market. So, yeah, yeah. So, Kaya, thank you so much for sharing an honest, inspiring journey from unconventional beginnings to defending networks on the front lines. Your story is a proof that you don't need a degree or a straight path to break into cybersecurity. This episode is indeed a reminder the door to tech isn't closed. You have to keep knocking. Thank you, Kaya, for being on the podcast.
Thank you so much.